want to talk a little bit about Jerod Mayo and his status as head coach for the New England Patriots, because recent reports show that while the Patriots aren't playing for the postseason this year, and they do have 4 games left in the NFL season, it looks like those 4 games are going to matter most to Jerod Mayo because he could possibly be coaching for his job for the 2025 NFL season. So we're going to break that down here on Patriots Today by Chat Sports. I am your host, Allie Barefoot, and I got a quick question for you guys before we hop into all the nitty-gritty and the recent reports that have come out from Patriots insiders. Should Jerod Mayo be the head coach for next year? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Stick around for the back half of this video. I'm going to give you guys my answer to this question and then give you the reasoning on why I think he should be fired or I think he should stay as the head coach. Because this matchup is not going to be easy. In fact, all of the next matchups are not going to be easy for New England. We do face the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona this week, and as you guys can see, the Cardinals are fighting for a lot more than New England is right now. But when it comes to recent reports, it does look like that Jerod Mayo is going to have to coach one of his best games this week, next week, the week after that, and then the final week, which is a month away. Why? Because Greg Bedard did recently come out talking about that Jerod Mayo's job is not 100% safe, saying, according to multiple sources, it's Kraft. If Kraft comes to the realization he made the wrong choice with Mayo, he wouldn't hesitate to rectify the situation. That Kraft's ego and or proving his gut decision on Mayo was correct would prevent Kraft from moving on after one season is false, according to team sources. Has it got to that point? No. But it could by the end of the season. And then another source came and told Greg Bedard, if they get blown out in all 4 games, I think all options are on the table. And when you do face the Cardinals, the Chargers, and the Buffalo Bills twice, who are up there in top Vegas odds to be the next Super Bowl champions, it's not looking really great in Mayo's favor. Did he ask for the hardest strength of schedule in the last 4 remaining games? No, but Jerod Mayo has also shown us through the last 13 games, I don't know if he can outcoach those teams. So Greg Bedard also went on to say here about Mayo's status. At the moment, yes, I do think there is something at stake for Jerod Mayo the final 4 games this season. I do not think he is 100% safe. I've said this before, and I still think it's in the same boat. So while New England's not going to play for a postseason spot, you now have Alex Van Pelt, DeMarcus Covington, and Jerod Mayo laying everything that they have out on the line to keep their job safe for next year. I think Alex Van Pelt and DeMarcus Covington, I think they're already gone. I do not think they will be the DC and the OC for the Patriots next year, but of course it's just my opinion. Jerod Mayo, however, a guy that Robert Kraft handpicked 5 years ago, I do think that maybe they'll end up taking a chance on him next year. But if he gets absolutely smothered in these next 4 games going up against teams that are competing for a postseason spot, teams that are competing for a lot more than New England is, I don't think they're going to show any mercy to New England or Jerod Mayo in his status for this next year. But I do think that when you look at your opponents and you've got the Cardinals, and then you take on the Bills, and then you take on the Chargers, and then you take on the Bills again, I do not see any sliver of success happening in the next 4 games. I think you've dealt with injuries. I think you just let go of another receiver. Now you only have 5 targets for Drake May. The offensive line is just a revolving door when it comes to the left guard, all the way over to the right guard, and then you go to your exterior linemen as well. I just don't think the Patriots have what it takes to even take down any 4 of these teams. If they do, it's going to have to be one of their seamless games, and maybe after the bye week, when they have actually sat down, gone through 2 straight weeks of whatever they need to get through, maybe they could come out and surprise some teams. But I just don't think success is going to come very easily for Jerod Mayo in these next 4 games. But all they're saying is, don't get blown out. Put some points up on the board. Show me that your defense has a sliver of what it was last year, and Jerod Mayo's job will be safe. But if you go out there and you play horrendously like you have against the Jaguars, the Dolphins this season, 2 terrible teams, well, then that's a different story. So I have a question for you guys before I jump into my take and then reasons why they should or should not keep him around. Will New England win another game this season? I'm going to go with no. I think their record will end up being a 3-win season, which is kind of what we had predicted going into the year. So I'm not that far off. But go on ahead and type Y for yes and type N for no. Coming up, I'll give you my opinion on whether or not I think Robert Kraft made the right decision as head coach. And I'll talk about 2 reasons why they should keep him and 2 reasons why they should not keep him next season. But before I jump into that, let me go ahead and tell you guys about our sponsor here on Patriots Today by Chat Sports. I'm talking about Game Time. This is the only app I use to get tickets to any sporting event, concert, comedy show, or even the theater. Game Time Picks is a new feature on this app as well, and they filter out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands and thousands of tickets. Not only will you get that feature, but you also have all-in pricing with no surprise fees at checkout. They also show you the view from the seat before you buy. You can get a 180 panoramic view from your seat before you have to purchase the tickets, and it's a lowest price guaranteed. This part they are absolutely 100% on because I just went and saw the Dallas Stars in town the other week. My boyfriend's brother and sister-in-law were in town. They had never been to an NHL game before, so I went on ahead, bought them some Dallas Stars tickets. I actually got better seats than I even imagined because Game Time picked it for me and said, hey, there's 10% off on these tickets just cause. This is why I use Game Time. So if you guys want to go on ahead and get Game Time as well, it's super easy. All you have to do is download the app, create an account, and use code ChatSports for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first time buying tickets while terms do apply. You guys can download Game Time today because what time is it? Well, it is game time. So let me talk about my decision on whether or not I think Robert Kraft made the right choice on hiring Jerod Mayo. I do not. I do not think Jerod Mayo should have been hired as the head coach this year, especially not right after Bill Belichick, the future Hall of Famer, decided to leave the team. But I'm not going to put this all on Jerod Mayo. I do think he was handed one of the worst teams in the NFL to deal with, so you have that factor. But I also think Jerod Mayo was not equipped with the right offensive and defensive help as well. You have two first-timers at DC and at OC to pair along with a first-year head coach. That's just a recipe for disaster. I know that Robert Kraft 5 years ago wanted Jerod Mayo to be the head coach, and I do stand by that, but I just don't think it was the right time, the right season, with the right personnel to allow Jerod Mayo to be the head coach. So when I do look at why you should keep Jerod Mayo around, yeah, you have to kind of look at all of the setups that led to him being head coach. He was handed arguably the worst team in the NFL. And that is no disrespect, but it's kind of disrespectful. You had an offense that was projected to be the bottom of the pack, and then you had a defense who was supposed to be the only bright spot, but you dealt with injuries. You traded away Matt Judon, and now you're looking at a middle-of-the-pack defense when we used to be a top 10. Well, you have a first-year DC, and you have a first-year OC, and right now you are the second-worst offense in the league, and like I said, you barely made the top 20 when you were a top 10 dominant defense last year. So when you look at what he's been set up with, no, it's a recipe for disaster. And I do think you should keep him around because I think the situation is only going to go up from here. But I do think that if you were to fire him, a reason for that would be the lights are too bright for Jerod Mayo as a head coach. We know he was a DC. We know he's a defensive-minded kind of guy. And I think that maybe his name being in the headlines is a little bit too much for Jerod Mayo. Why do I say that? Because time and time again, he has put his foot in his mouth when it comes to post-game press conferences and Monday morning radio shows. He has taken back several things that he has said, which is kind of ironic because you really can't take them back. He's called his team soft after a devastating loss. There are just numerous things that a head coach probably just shouldn't say. I know they're probably thinking it, majority of them are. But it just doesn't look like he's got that coach talk down pat, not to mention clock mismanagement. There are several times where New England could have actually taken the leads in ball games, but they were just poorly coached. And instead of going for a Hail Mary, you try to go for a 65-yard field goal. Or instead, in the red zone, you're going to run on a 3rd and 16 play when your run game has been in the negatives all game long. And then the penalties, the lack of discipline that Jerod Mayo has been called out on time and time again. These are all things that, yes, while there are several factors that go into it, guess who gets blamed for it? The head coach. And guess who doesn't handle that very well? Jerod Mayo. So I have a question for you guys before I hop into my last reason why you should keep him and last reason why you shouldn't keep him. Why should New England keep Mayo? Tell me a positive. Tell me a reason why you think he should be the head coach next season. Another reason why I think you should stay is because of the hope for the future. Like I said, he was handed arguably the worst team in the NFL in his first year as a head coach. I don't know many head coaches that could turn the Patriots into a winning team this year. I really don't. There were a lot of factors that went in to them having a 3-10 record. But the good news is that Elliott Wolf, an acting GM right now, who really did not hit anything in free agency despite some attempts, they will be projected to have the league-high cap space of $132.5 million. If I'm Elliott Wolf, which I am far from it, and I am probably the worst person to have in the front office, I am going out there this offseason to try and land a huge name for Jerod Mayo, whether that's a T. Higgins, whether that's a Trey Smith, whatever it is. I want to go out there and make a big splash with the over $130 million I will have to pay a big player. And right now, you are currently fighting with about 2 other teams to get the top pick in the NFL draft, which would be huge. Why? Because you don't need a quarterback. The Giants, the Raiders, the Jags, possibly, they need a quarterback. So if you have New England, you can go out and get a skills player, bar none, with the first pick in the draft and help your rebuild. But another reason why, if you don't think he should stick around, my opinion is going to be because there's other options out there. The Patriots would not be the only team looking for a head coach. It's kind of the iffy part is that you're really betting on a lottery here. You got the Chicago Bears that need a head coach. You might have the Las Vegas Raiders. You could have the New York Giants that are going to be looking for a new head coach in the offseason. So while we look at these top 5 head coach candidates for another team in the NFL, they also may go coach another team like a Caleb Williams, like a Tommy DeVito in New York. A lot of teams are going to try to go out and get Mike Vrabel, who's currently unemployed but was most recently the head coach for the Tennessee Titans. You could go and try and pick apart the coaching staff in Detroit. The OC and the DC could be a head coach for next season. Brian Flores, Vikings DC. Cliff Kingsbury, who is now the OC in Washington, who was going to be the head coach for the Raiders. There are several people out there that could be an improvement than Jerod Mayo. But if you end up keeping him through next season, or possibly half of next season, the list is not going to look like this. So if you're going to get rid of Jerod Mayo, it either needs to be in the offseason and you need to give a full new head coach 17 games to work with, or if you go and fire him mid-season, you need to expect another losing year and no playoffs, because that's going to be extremely hard for a transitional coach to come in and try to have a winning season. So my last question here for you guys is, I asked you why you should keep Jerod Mayo. Why do you not want to keep Jerod Mayo around? What is the reasoning that you think Robert Kraft should fire Mayo in the offseason for? And if anything happens with Jerod Mayo, the Patriots, any rumors, news, I will talk about it right here on Patriots Today by Chat Sports. If you guys want to join over 18,000 Patriots fans here on this channel, all you have to do is subscribe.